There's an unusually good view of the front, Gene, and the heat shield, basically those tiles which will be used to protect it, right, when it re-enters the atmosphere.
We're looking at the nose of Discovery. It's pointed upward, of course, and as we saw a minute ago, the two white tubular-like things alongside that orange tank are the SRBs, the solid rocket boosters, which fire for...
That's the cap on the top of the big external tank. Perhaps we could get a wide shot here and look at the big external tank, which has been fueled overnight with liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. And there on the outboard side are those solid rocket boosters to which you referred, Gene. And of course, they have been very much redesigned because of Challenger.
That's been the focus of the design changes, although Peter, there's I guess well over 300 changes in the orbiter system itself, the entire system. So it's almost a completely new vehicle, although it doesn't really appear to be.
We will remember, of course, from Challenger that it was a leak from one of those solid rocket boosters, a tiny, tiny leak through what they call an O-ring, where the sections are fitted together that allowed flame, because those things are giant Roman candles, and once you start them, there's no turning them off, which allowed flame to escape from the solid rocket booster, and then it ignited the enormous external tank, and we all watched it during the 25th shuttle flight. Now, okay, let us, we've just heard from Launch Control. In fact, let's join Launch Control for just a second.
CMQC, next stop here.
What they're doing is checking their communications, but they have just told the crew on board, the five-man crew, Rick Hauck, Dick Covey, Dave Hilmers, Mike Lowndes, and Pinky Nelson, that there's going to be at least a half-hour delay for them. And this pre-planned hold at the 9-minute mark should have been over by now, and it is not. Dick Richards, you sat in this condition. In fact, Joe Allen said the two of you sat there yourselves in a very similar position on board Discovery. What do you think they're thinking at the moment, or are they just working?
They really don't have a lot to do right now, and it's the launch team that's doing all the work and doing an analysis of this upper altitude wind situation, so the crew is probably wondering. But they're trying to stay sharp. As you can see, the people here in the white room...
that's the hatch.
That's the hatch. The outside, the same hatch.
0 for liftoff of Discovery. It is approximately a half hour from now at the earliest. NASA launch director Bob Seek is going through another weather report from the Air Force weather people, both for the Kennedy Space Center and all of the other sites around the world, including Edwards Air Force Base in case of an abort once around, Space Harbor in New Mexico, and of course
Rick Hauck, who's the commander. He's regarded as being incredibly laconic, incredibly cool. He's 47 years old. He's flown twice before. He's on his third mission. He is third-generation Navy. He's the commander in charge. If they have to abort, he's the man who'll fly the shuttle back to the Kennedy Space Center or somewhere else. His pilot is Dick Covey. He's 42. He's in the Air Force. He was a pilot on the Discovery mission in September of 1985. He was selected as an astronaut in 78. There is another of those indications at the moment that things are proceeding. That is the crew access arm moving back. At the very end there is a white room you saw earlier where the crew went out and got their final preparations, put on their survival suits, which they are wearing for the first time ever into space to this degree. And now that last remaining physical link is now being removed from Discovery itself. Talk just a little bit about those survival suits. For the very first time in the wake of the Challenger explosion, they're wearing suits which weigh 80-some-odd pounds, I think. 80-some-odd pounds, which self-contain a parachute and which contain a life raft and oxygen, and they will wear them on liftoff, and they will wear them on return. Let's go back to the crew for just a second. You met Rick Hauck and Mike Covey. There's Dave Hilmers. He's one of the mission specialists. He's a physicist. He's a former Navy pilot. He's 38. He's already flown in space. He's been on one shuttle flight. He told some of us the other day what it was like to sit on top of this enormous fuel tank at this moment. He said, mainly you think about, God, let's not screw this up. Dave Hilmers. George Pinky Nelson. His name is George. Nobody else knows him as anything except Pinky Nelson. He's the astronomer. He's the civilian. He's 38 years old. He's always got that smile on his face. He was a member of the crew of the last successful shuttle mission, and his primary role on this flight is to conduct a series of experiments. And on launch today, he's sitting all by himself down on the mid-deck. Let's listen to launch control.
Will collect measurements of shuttle systems during flight and be played back afterwards. At the 5-minute point, the orbiter test conductor will ask pilot Dick Covey to start the auxiliary power units, which provide hydraulic power for steering and controlling flight surfaces.
That's Hugh Harris in launch control, who's just really bringing us up to date with the sequencing that we're going to go through. We're T-minus 4 minutes, 57 seconds and counting. And we owe you one more member of the crew before they take what they call the beanie off there. Let's have a quick look at the picture of Mike Lounge. His name is John, everybody calls him Mike. He also is a mission specialist. He's a physicist, former Navy pilot. He's been up before. As we said, this is the most experienced crew that we have had in the air so far. There's the crew as they sit. Gene on board this morning. I always ask you on these occasions to take us back to your own flight and give us some sense of what you think they may be thinking.
At this point, after 2 years of training, I got to tell you, they've got the feeling they're really going to go. And it's an exhilarating feeling. It's something. You sit there and you say, "Don't stop me now." As soon as those bolts blow, as soon as you're on your way, then you know you've really got something in your hands. And that comment about, "Oh, don't let me screw up," is one that goes through everyone's head. We want to be able to do the best possible job, better than it's ever been done before. These guys are anxious at this point in time, but I'm sure we're confident.
And Joe Allen, the astronaut of ours sitting up there in Houston, give us some sense of being on board at this point. You've been there.
Oh, well, they're sitting and waiting for the main engine start. They'll be watching everything aboard the shuttle. It's all being done automatically now, and it's pretty much out of their control, and indeed, although people on the ground are watching, it's being controlled aboard the orbiter itself.
Let's listen to launch control.
By their readiness to support the ascent flight control. After going through their paces, they'll be aligned to their start position.
Orbiter coming. Hugh Harris again telling us we are T-minus 3 minutes approximately and counting. The orbiter is already going to go on its internal power. That has just gone on to its internal power. They're going to remove that cap from the top of the external tank. That's that liquid hydrogen and oxygen. It's partly keeping pressure down and helping to vent off the pressure, but it's also warming.
There's a heater up there to keep ice from forming on the top of that tank as well. It should be moving away here pretty quick.
And of course, the reason they worry about ice is that ice might form and fall and damage the shuttle itself.
That's correct. The thermal protection system's sophisticated but brittle, so we try to protect it to the best extent possible.
The thermal protection system in layman's language are the tiles which you use to protect yourself when you come back.
The orbiter fuel cells has been
2
turned
minutes,
off. Discovery
23
is now
seconds and counting. Everything's on automatic. Here's Hugh Harris.
Coming up
Removing
on
this cap,
the
which
2-minute point in our countdown. T-minus 2 minutes and counting. Liquid hydrogen replenish of the external tank has stopped.
give you some indication of the interest here at the Kennedy Space Center itself. When Challenger lifted off from here 32 months ago, there were 500 journalists. Today there's 5,000 from all over the world. And as we acknowledged a little earlier on this one occasion, everybody urging America back into space.
Peter, it's beginning to look a little different when we talked yesterday, isn't it? Covered with that power. She's slowly breaking her bounds with Earth.
Those SRBs, those solid rocket boosters, those two outboard white tanks will just power along with that main engine tank. Those three engines power this craft right off at a much straighter up into the sky trajectory than ever before.
Anticipating a hold here, we just heard at about 31 seconds. The problem has not been defined.
Okay, I believe that's again, that alarm that we were expecting there. Oxygen from the suit is leaking into the cabin and bumping this upper limit. And so I suspect we'll pick it up here.
So this is a survival suit, which Dick Richards is referring to. They are Beg your pardon, they will now proceed with the count. There will be no hold.
The orbiter
We're going to leave this now to Hugh Harris, the voice of launch control.
31 seconds. We have a go for auto-sequence start. Discovery's 4 redundant computers have assumed T-minus 23 seconds and counting. The SRB nozzle profile. T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. We'll go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Control program now controlling.
Glorious day. Those are the long-range tracking cameras.
25 seconds from solid rocket booster separation.
25 seconds. Those outboard rockets will fall off having done their job.
1 minute, 45 seconds. 3 engines, 104%.
We've never had better pictures.
Major milestone come out.
Velocity 4,800 feet per second. Altitude 20 nautical miles. Downrange distance 19 nautical miles. Standing by for solid rocket booster separation.
There it is. Separation.
There they go. Get it out. Go.
You understand. You go pushing 4,000 miles an hour right now, and that was a key point.
Solid rocket booster.
Get rid of those solid rocket boosters which cause challenges, disasters.
Someone did their job right.
3 engines, no
And they will return to Earth. They are recoverable. They are recoverable. They'll come by parachute. Now being powered by that main external tank, pushing it, driving it towards orbit.
Still running at normal speed. 3 good fuel cells.
This trajectory, Peter, was exceptionally high.
Call it here shortly from the Capcom about the capability to reach transatlantic.
What you call a conservative trajectory in some cases, but they haven't got an enormous payload this time. This is a trajectory sort of flight path and blind precision.
They used their extra energy to get altitude quicker, is what it amounted to.
39B.
How quickly things change. We got about another 5 minutes to go.
Coming to 4 minutes now.
There it is right there. 2-engine Marone capability.
So even if the Lincoln engine
may be able to achieve a transatlantic abort at Marone if that were to become necessary. Return status, mission control, positions, all reports go.
If they lose an engine now, they can land.
they can continue on. That's all.
Velocity 7,600 feet per second, altitude 53 nautical miles, downrange distance 107 nautical miles. Standing by for negative return.
Take a look at those figures that's on the side of your screen and you get an enormous sense of speed now. They're traveling at about 5,000 feet per second.
And ultimately, of course, they'll be pushing 17 8. Means negative return back to the landing site.
Now they're going 8,000
Discovery
feet
now
per
can no longer
second.
turn around and return to the launch site in the event of an abort. 4 minutes, 20 seconds. Velocity 8,700 feet per second. Altitude 59 nautical miles. Downrange distance 148 nautical miles.
That's a great sight.
What this means, if they had lost an engine now, they could still land safely in Africa.
Very soon we're going to see the orbit capability there.
And that means that they
Listen
can
to that
lose
crowd.
engines and still push themselves into orbit because they've got so much velocity at this point.
Peter, how do you feel? You've been answering that all day. How do you feel?
That's fantastic. Fantastic. You could feel it in your bones here a while ago. There was no question.
All of indication Discovery could reach and abort to orbit on 2 engines if that were to become necessary.
The further they go, the more capability.
Velocity 10,300 feet per second. Altitude 65.7 nautical miles. Downrange distance 203 nautical miles.
Still picking up speed.
Very quickly. They're really hauling the mail at this point in time. There's very little atmosphere to slow them down. They're getting lighter because they're burning the fuel, and those engines are still putting out just as much thrust.
Also, initially, most of its launch trajectory was vertical to get out of the atmosphere, and now it's more horizontal to go for speed.
When they get into orbit, of course, they'll go around the world at 17,000 miles per hour.
Once every 90 minutes. Sunrise and a sunset.
Crew given their pressure main engine cutoff call, indicating they can proceed to normal main engine
As they
cutoff.
push for orbit now, let's go back and relearn it because it was tremendously exciting here. There's still an enormous cloud of smoke in the sky, but here is the launch seen from various perspectives. One is the space shuttle.
And liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Crew confirms roll program. Solid rocket boosters. They do not stop burning. You see the way she rotates. She flies up on her back, going straighter than usual.
For some reason, we always seem to go in orbit on our back. We've been doing that since the early days of Mercury.
Now, let's take a look at it from yet another angle.
2, 1,
That's what we saw.
0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
That's what it looks like from our anchor booth. And you get some sense. Look at the top of your screen there. Look at the sense of speed. Now look at one more.
3 engines at 104%.
Main engine start. 7, 6. Start. 3.
They're now 60 miles above the Earth, accelerating in towards orbit.
And liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the
They have even
tower.
a thing around here called solid rocket booster fallout because that
Roll program.
flame that they put down there into the launch pad, which now, by the way, will go back and be reused again, just causes an enormous lots of cars all over the neighborhood.
There's a lot of metal, I believe, aluminum perhaps placed in there that get pretty hot coming out of there.
Start. 7, 6.
And here's one more look from another angle.
2, 1.
The engines are running perfectly now.
And liftoff.
Everything's right on the line.
Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Crew confirms roll program. Houston now controlling.
Tremendous, tremendous smoke here, which still lingers over the Space Center on this gloriously hot day. It's up around 86 degrees. Now, we're back to our animation now because the next event will be the main engine cutoff in about 35 seconds from now, and then there's no doubt what the engine is going to make work.
Well, you know, they can get to orbit with 2 engines now.
9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 619 nautical miles. You can only get to orbit with 1 engine.
Probably with 1 engine or so close.
When does the main tank come off?
Approximately 17 seconds after main engine cutoff.
Right, and then it falls and burns up in the atmosphere.
That's correct.
Tumbles back in. That's the one piece they cannot recover. And then they will...
Seconds away from main engine cutoff. Velocity 24,600 feet per second. Altitude 59 nautical miles. Downrange distance 700 nautical miles. Standing by for main engine cutoff.
700 miles in 8 minutes.
Main engine cutoff confirmed. Discovery's 3 main engines have now shut down its program.
And still, Discovery drives forward.
The last big maneuver.
Discovery, nominal MECO, 1 not required.
Well, now they're in an orbit, but not completely a circular orbit. They have a low atmosphere around 30, or a low 1/3 at around 35 miles an hour. So they're going to the high point of the orbit at about 150 miles. They'll fire their engines at that point in about 40 minutes to bring up the low part of the orbit, and then there'll be 160 circular.
Let's talk for just a second when we come back about now what this means. America is back into